Okay, everyone, and welcome to the special edition of the midweek market wrap up. And that's because today we have new monthly charts. So at the end of the month, my plan is always to go through the monthly chart, anyways. Since it's happening on the middle of the week, I'm going to include it in this midweek market wrap up. Plus, we have FOMC stuff going on today. And you guys know I avoid all that entirely. I trade well after that news is done. So I'm not even really looking at the market. So just FYI, we are going to have every chart we look at is going to have a new monthly candle on it, but we're ignoring that and we're looking at the end of the month. Now, before short-term traders click off and do something else, this is something I've been doing for years, even as someone who holds trades for multi-days or multi-weeks, depending on the strategy. Zooming really far out, years out, really helps you kind of pull you out of the forest and really make you take a look at the trees. And I find it oddly relaxing to do as well. Just refreshing myself on what longer term trends we are seeing in certain things. So, as always, if you want to make sure you get this emailed to you every time I do a video, every time I have an idea or an algorithm that I think is interesting, go to statsedtrading.com, sign up for the email list there. We also have a free, completely free trading course you can check out on that website. 39 lessons, starts with what is a stock, ends with, trading plan development. Completely free. Don't need to sign up or do any emails or anything like that. So again, go to statsedtrading.com, figure all that out, and let's get into the charts here. So, starting with Bitcoin, and although this month was a crazy monthly bar here, we are noticing just a little bit of prior resistance here. So I wonder how much this is going to take into effect. Also, I'm not a huge fib guy, but I always find when the chart kind of looks like this, I like to take a look at the basic fib levels. We are coming into what some would consider the golden zone, and that's essentially the 31.8 and the 63.2 or whatever those numbers are. That area of roughly halfway bouncing from the sell-off. So we do have some resistance coming up here. And again, I love doing these because I love doing these really long-term looks to make sure I'm focused in the right place. Now, one thing that hasn't taken off is Ethereum, right? So we just looked at that giant monthly candle, and Ethereum's done next to nothing and still has a lot of resistance overhead. So if we look at Ethereum over Bitcoin, this is the flippening chart, as people will call it. Basically, the theory being that Ethereum at some point would overtake Bitcoin in market cap or market value. And doesn't look like that's the case. Really ugly candle here, basically showing that Bitcoin had an amazing month. Ethereum did next to nothing. So it doesn't look like, unless you want to play some, cheeky catch-up trade, if you want to go in the strength in the crypto sector, it's in Bitcoin. It's not in altcoins. It's not in Ethereum. I think Ethereum is generally a good guide for altcoins. So it's interesting move here. So now if we go to the DXY, the dollar index, this was a pretty interesting level right here that we pulled back to. These prior highs back in this area, we actually bled through them a bit. Let me encompass this candle. So this prior range back here that was resistance acted as support. We have now 3 months in a row up on DXY. Could it continue? Absolutely. Look at this massive run that occurred here in DXY. Sorry, this is the dollar index. So the dollar versus a whole bunch of other currencies. Makes me think that we could possibly be in for a little of a revision or a wait, a pause, something like that. I wouldn't be really, really bullish unless we start to see a breakout over this last month's high. If we go into the daily chart, we have this kind of pattern right here that could lead us a little bit higher. But again, this monthly chart, which is what we're focused on today, it's a little bit potentially overextended. Next, I wanted to look at US dollar, Japanese yen. So this is essentially the yen flipped, right? So as it goes up, the yen gets weaker. The yen's been getting weaker and really right at this old high. So this old high, let me actually move my drawing up here. This old high is very interesting because the last time we were up here, I think that it was the Bank of Japan stepped in, pushed prices down. Now we've been slowly grinding back up to that level. Wouldn't shock me if we see a little bit of a pause or some gains or something at that level. And again, this will always guide me when I'm trading, which I trade a lot of currencies in the shorter term time horizon. Aussie CAD, which followers the channel know is a new one that I look at. This low right here is being respected. We put in a couple bottoming tails right here on the monthly chart, and now it looks like we're coiling up here. I do actually have a long Aussie CAD position now that I took on a shorter term time frame, so it is good to see a little bit of support from the monthly chart here. Speaking of Aussie currencies, we go into Aussie yen. Aussie yen is kind of a proxy for the interest rate trade. Looks like we could be breaking out into new highs here. Again, I'm always worried that the Bank of Japan is actually, because they've kind of stated that, hey, we're going to start protecting our currency. But this looks like a pretty bullish chart to me as we're holding really high and tight against these levels. You can see last month we had a big sell-off, came back to do this, what's called a dragonfly doji, if we zoom in on the month, where it opens at a price, sellers come in, really try to take it down, comes right back up to that price and closes right there. That's an incredibly strong look for me. Just to finish up the yen pairs that I have on my list here, every time I look down, it's because I have a list of many names to go over. Another one holding a really high, tight base is pound yen. Still has a little bit of room to, I would think this is not all-time highs, but this is recent highs. Still has some room in that area, but holding really tight in this zone. Now we got to look at silver and gold. Silver bouncing, nice bottoming tail under this prior support on the silver chart, but really underperforming gold. If you look at gold here, and we talked about this when I was on Trader TV, I've talked about this a bunch. This to me is a cup and handle if I've ever seen one, right? There's your big cup, and then here's your handle up here. So that's a big monthly candle. I wouldn't bet against it, but if we pull back into this monthly candle, I'm definitely going to be a buyer over a seller if I find some short-term trades. And again, this is what I'm doing. I'm not planning on trading these monthly charts. What I'm doing is making sure that what I'm looking at has the same direction or has the same feel. I'm zooming out, and again, it's refreshing to zoom out because this whole bear market that we've been dealing with for so long is just this little area right here. So again, it gives you a really good context of where everything's going. So now we're into equities using trade ideas. There is a test drive for trade ideas where you can check it out for $11 for 2 weeks, and you can actually join a paper trading competition that we're having where you can paper trade, and if you win, we'll send you money. So again, you can go to statsedgetrading.com. You can sign up for that there. In the email, there'll also be a link that will take you directly to it. And if you're not signed up for the email, go to statsedgetrading.com. You can sign up there. So we have this little breakout that happened. We pulled back into it, and so far we're holding. And it's also the anchored VWAP from this low, which I've been talking about. But just to show, 3 months down in a row, a little bit of a do-nothing month last month, all things considered. Down on the month for sure, but a bit of bottoming tail, a bit of a topping tail, so a little doji of a month. So it'll be interesting to see if this holds and then we start to push higher again. Then again, this whole thing seems like a blip, even though it was 3 months or an entire quarter of pulling back. Uranium, something I've been pounding the table on for a very long time, and I just, full disclosure, I own a bunch of uranium through different names, mostly to the point where I'm in decent profit in the name, so I don't have to do anything. But uranium is just getting very interesting, where we have this potential kind of cup look right here, hanging out at these prior highs. So a breakthrough of these highs, I think, could get us to $30, where maybe we test this high. If we go even higher from there, that's great. Again, monthly chart, so we're talking months to maybe get up there, maybe months to get through it. But we've had last month that was a bullish month, or 2 months ago. Then we had last month that was this dragonfly doji, where you have sellers all month. Those sellers get bought up, ends up closing right where it opened. So maybe sucking in a lot of shorts that were betting short against this level right here. XLU, so utilities, have absolutely been hammered. And utilities have been hammered essentially it's a whole interest rate thing, Why own a utility stock that's yielding 5% where you can just keep your money federally guaranteed in a bank yielding 5%, right? That's why these things have been getting killed. But pretty big bottoming tail right under this prior area right here, showing some strength. So breaking out of this month could be a reversal pattern. Big volume on that bottoming tail here within XLU. So definitely something I'm keeping an eye on in utilities. DBC, and DBC is essentially just a DBC. DBC is a commodity ETF, so it's going to include some energy names and some agriculture names, that kind of thing. Again, just nice kind of calm pullback since the craziness at the high 2022. Now 4 months of about a base, about doing nothing. So a break of this base is very interesting. So we had this big kind of impulse month, this big push up of a month. And then we have two bottoming tails where it tried to pull back down after that month. Couldn't do it. So reversing higher could be the thing here. So talking about commodities, we'll go into XOP. So this is an oil, but this is the oil explorers and the guys who find the oil and the guys who extract the oil, but not the oil as a currency or as a commodity itself. 3 months in a row, now 2 kind of chill months dealing with this 150 level, which it's had a hard time here and here getting over. So could be just resting for a break over 150. That's something I now have on my watch list that I didn't have before because I wasn't looking at monthly charts. Is if XOP get over that 150 area, could be lights on. Now let's go into XLF. So XLF here is financials, right? Banks and all of that. Very interesting that if you scroll back here, so this is 2020, this high is 2018, and this is the low of the bear market. We tested it again, we came close to it, and now we're bouncing from it. This $30 on XLF, I think, is very, very important. If financials are, and these are the big guys, right? These are the larger banks. If they're selling off dramatically, I don't think it's going to be good for the market, obviously, but we have a really strong level right above. So if you did want to take a shot on some banks, it may be the time to take a look. Now we're going to quickly look at USO. USO. We're going to zoom in a little bit because this is all the craziness of when oil went negative. It's just in a range. Could be resting to take out these highs, but in a mess. And speaking of a mess, I wanted to quickly go over to UNG or natural gas and look at this base on UNG on the monthly chart, right? This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months in a row in this low base. So again, I'm still watching for a break of this base, but zooming out into a monthly chart again helps me with the FOMO of I don't need to catch the breakout. If we have a monthly candle that kind of looks like this, then we'll probably have another pullback or a rest or some way to play it. So I don't need to necessarily catch the breakout. I'm going to be watching for it, but I won't be chasing if I miss it. Again, another advantage. Highly, highly recommend taking a look at monthly charts. Once a month, right? XLC. XLC is our communications, where we've had this big push up off the lows in the communication stocks, and now we've just been holding sideways now for 1, 2, 3, 4 months in a row. So over a quarter of just resting. So a break of this $70 on XLC could be very, very interesting. TAN, T-A-N. Just absolute mess, right? So anytime you want to buy solar, just know we've now broken below this. We have a little bit of an area right here, but just a mess. Just for me, just not interested in any solar names until we can retake $50 a share. Other than that, I'm just not interested in any way, shape, or form. Again, a good time, good way to zoom out. Now, this is something that's kind of interesting. So I did a presentation recently this one. And with this presentation, I actually ran a back test as part of the presentation. The presentation was all about relative strength. You can see it on my channel if you go back a few videos. If you go back on the Substack, there's not only a video there, but a big write-up. Part of it was the why we invest in relative strength. Investing in relative strength is very, very important. Part of what I did as a back test is I ran this back test you're seeing in front of me, in which the green line is once a month. You take the stocks that are highest up in the year range. So you take all of the S&P 500, you take the top 10 names high are up as they are in the 1 year range of those S&P 500 names, and each month you rotate it. And the green line is that strategy, and the red line is the S&P 500. So you can see it as a long only strategy where you're simply rotating and you're doing no risk management or anything like this. It dramatically outperforms the S&P 500. Part of the reason is because you're compounding, right? Every time you get a gain, you're then applying more money into that account. Even without compounding, it does still beat it probably by a pretty decent margin. But just wanted to show you that because I think part of what I'm going to do each month is say, let's put our money where our mouth is here and let's go through. So this top list right here that I made in Trade Ideas is just that. It's the as of Friday on the close, or yesterday, sorry, on the close. What are the top names of the S&P 500 ranked? And let's take a look at them on monthly charts and just see. So ANET already up 4% today. Big move today. But again, you can see this massive push through here. This one might be a bit extended for me, but the algo says you should take a look at those. Second one is PGR. So Progressive Insurance Companies doing really, really well. Massive breakout next month. I'm actually going to set an alert right here to see if this thing pulls into 150. Because if it pulls back into this 150 level, I may be interested. And again, this is how I use algorithms. I know looking at these names is better than looking at names of stocks that are selling off, that are better than a lot of things. So if I can just set some price alerts or zoom into a lower time frame or do something to help me place a good trade with a good stop loss, knowing that it's these top 10 names, if I just bought all 10 and rotated them, going back, that back test I showed you went back to 1980, so 40 years, this works, right? MCK, again, this is just too done for me. I think this is going to be a theme of a lot of these, but I'm trying to get an idea of what is in this as well, right? So buying this yesterday would have been great. You already would have been up 12% on this part of the position already today. And again, if you have trade ideas, you can run this scan anytime you want. Go to statsedgetrading.com. Use StatsEdge25, all one word, for 25% off at checkout. Earnings were yesterday. That's why it had this big bounce. But another insurance name. So we're at 5 here. Industrial gas manufacturing. And this one's out of United Kingdom. So this is actually one I'm going to keep in mind. We talked about XOP, and XOP is these oil services name. This would be one of them. So if we can get a little bit of breakout here, so this is where this is the first one that I really like the look of. And again, this is how you do it. You take an algo like that and you say, okay, what can happen here? We're up 4 days in a row. That might be a little bit too much, but I'm going to put a price alert right here. If we kind of pause for a bit and then push through, we can get through that level. That might be the way to play this LIN. Now, a little bit of iced coffee. So ServiceNow, and ServiceNow is an interesting one, just chopping under this 600 level. So I'm going to put a price alert in here for that 600 level. CDNS, Candice Designs System. See, again, I should know these because they're obviously big, giant S&P 500 name companies, but they're circuits and electronic devices. So this is probably moving a lot with the AI thing. Nice little base here. Kind of like the look of that one, but holy smokes, right? So this one probably would have been highest up in the range here. It probably would have been, right? Because each of these, you're doing this each month, probably would have been highest up in the range all throughout this trend. Synopsis. See, again, a lot of these with these topping tails, a little bit overdone. Again, I'm filtering by eye. Adobe is a very interesting one because I remember looking at that daily chart. All right, so VRTX is the last one. Yeah, it was right around this 500 level. Seems to be a good place to play. Sold down to that 500 level and then bounced pretty dramatically after that. So Adobe is definitely one I'm going to watch. Last one here we have is VRTX. Pharmaceutical. So this one has earnings soon, but interesting chart. Broke out and then pulled back into this level and is now pushing higher here as well. So thank you, everyone. Make sure you stop by stats@trading.com. Again, I really like the comments. I read all the comments. I try to respond to all of them, whether it's Twitter or YouTube or TikTok or wherever you're seeing these. I appreciate it. If you like these big monthly looks, definitely let me know. I'll be talking more about this on Trader TV tonight. I'll do another video probably sometime tomorrow. And then, of course, the weekend video. So if you want to make sure you don't miss the weekend video where I go through the entire thing again, but we're just looking at what happened last week, as well as sharing my watch list of stocks that I'm interested in. Again, make sure you go to stats@trading.com, sign up for the email list, or wherever you're seeing this video. If you follow and do notifications and all that stuff, you'll get it as well. Thank you very much, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon.